Hey there, my fellow YouTubians. What is up? What is up? I'm making this video as one that I actually feel like I've owed some of my viewers for quite a while now. And that is I received a number of recommendations recently for me to check out films. For example, when I did my best of 2006 movies, my favorite movies of 2006, a fellow who goes by meheh, which I believe is pronounced meheh, kind of like nah, only with an M instead. He said he watched the video and he went, well, that's all fine and good, but my favorite movie of 2006 was Babel, and he, really admired it. And I'm like, I've seen it, yeah. Maybe I should check out it again. It might be good, and I did, and I do like it quite a bit. But I have to say that my issues with it involve basically the acting, which is a little over the top for me. I mean, these situations are really extreme, but there's a point where it just sort of gets tiring hearing people kind of go all the time, and I don't know. Overall, it's an interesting movie. It kind of reminds me of Rendition, actually, which has the tri-narrative, which isn't quite actually in synchronous. The three storylines are intercut with each other, even though they don't actually take place at the same time. They have the one and then the other and then the last one, and they're intercut. And that's kind of like how Rendition is, only it's kind of a secret, which is pretty cool. So overall, decent movie. But yeah, the acting and also the camera work. There's just a lot of really frantic handheld camera work that I kind of got tired of after a while. But no, certainly not terrible. dascottjr. Responded to my video on obscure animated movies, which I made for him as his prize, by asking me to check out Yellow Submarine. And this is, of course, the musical, the anime musical that features the Beatles, or at least two of them, actually. I looked at the DVD credits and I found out that two different actors actually substituted and did the voices of two of the Beatle characters. It's like those two guys are so busy they couldn't spend a day in the recording booth recording all those bad puns. Okay, yeah. Well, I wasn't crazy about the movie, unfortunately. I like the animation, and I like a lot of the really surreal characters and events going on. But it didn't feel like there was much of a story, just them kind of wandering through this, sort of weird, trippy, who knows what, on their way to get rid of the blue meanies. It's funny, documentaries were talking about the sort of short, kind of hunchback character with a face, a mask over his face apparently, a guy who speaks in poems, as being critical of the really sort of highfalutin and above it all and kind of egomaniacal or some sort of elitist type of person, which was odd, I thought, because all the Beatle characters in the film treated him well and actually seemed to like him a lot. They seemed to really find his help to be helpful. So I didn't really get that. Of course, I really like Beatles music. That's really good, but it just sort of looked like a jukebox musical in which, the plot, such as it is, only just serves as an excuse to serve up one Beatles song after another. It kind of got better towards the end once they actually confronted the Blue Meanies and they found their doppelgangers and everything like that. But all in all, I was not crazy about it. But of course, it's nice to see something kind of different every once in a while. And finally, annafeyt, who also responded to that video, recommended that I check out Herein I. She also recommended Paprika, which is a Japanese animated film, as well as Waltz with Bashir, which I did see, but really want to watch a second time to sort of gather my thoughts on it, because it's quite a hard-hitting movie. Herein I is an Australian stop-motion movie about an Australian girl who doesn't have a lot of friends, so she basically picks a name out of the New York telephone book at random and decides to write to this guy in New York City and establish a pen-pal relationship. Well, as it turns out, the guy who she picked is someone who suffers from a lot of emotional problems. And I kind of was reminded by someone that I know personally by this guy, someone who really feels sort of like overwhelmed by the world around him and really needs his routine and really needs things to be a certain way in order to feel safe, in order to feel secure. She sends him these letters with all these questions on them, and he reads all these questions, and it's like he feels like obligated to answer them, but he doesn't know how, and so he sort of kind of freaks out. Her first two letters just send him into this total like tailspin, this emotional tailspin. It was interesting because at one point in the movie he feels that he has wronged her in some way by something that she's done, and all he can do really is just like list his emotions, anger and hurt and blah blah blah. And like, this is just the kind of way that this friend of mine would respond to something like this, simply by listing their feelings and saying how that has affected them. So I really sort of connected with that. The animation, of course, is really great, and some of the twists, it's based on a true story, actually, a real relationship between these two people, and some of the turns that the story takes are really, really crazy, and I had to remind myself this is a true story. For example, there's this sequence involving a conveyor belt and several boxes, and if you know what I'm talking about. And when I saw that, I was just like, oh my goodness, she did that? I mean, for real? All that work down the pipes? Oh, I can't believe it. I know why she did it. Because she felt like she had hurt this friend of hers and she wanted to undo that damage. But oh my goodness, all that work, just gone for good. It's really, really terrible. But I understand why she did it, and it hurt. Yeah, it did hurt. It's an emotional story, and the business with her husband, what happens with him eventually is just like, this is so crazy. It has to be true because it's just too crazy to be fiction. But I really sort of appreciated the last sequence as well, which was pretty emotional. I recorded a video where I caught like the very end of the movie before the credits came up, and it's funny. But the piece of music that's used in that last scene, as Mary makes her way to, through this building with her little traveling companion, is the same piece of music that used in one of Peter Jackson's pre-Lord of the Rings films, Heavenly Creatures. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was like Kate Winslet's first movie. And it's a very emotional piece of music, this classical piece. And when I heard it in this movie, it was just like, oh, that's it, man, I'm a goner. This is really getting me something. And it's, when she looks around his apartment and sees the picture of herself, that she sent him and everything, just like, wow, this is something else. Really, really, really good movie. It's funny, that piece of music was also used in the new Coppola movie, Tetro, which I wasn't expecting. But yeah, really, really terrific movie. Annafeyt describes this movie as her favorite movie, full stop. And if you have the opportunity to check out Back to the Future, that is more or less my favorite movie, full stop, and I'd be very interested to hear what you think of that. Not nearly the same type of experience, I think, as Mary and Max, but I'm curious to know what you think of that. Anyway, so I wanted to give you guys my feedback on your recommendations. Thank you very much for those. They're very interesting, and if you've got more, please send them my way, because I'm eager for new experiences like that. So thank you. Take it easy.